Live from the City of Angels here on Sunday morning, it's time for Breaking Box Office, and we set records as we predicted. This film was massive. Deadpool Wolverine, $205 million domestically. I thought it could go higher than that, but it turns out that when you have these films that are all about the spoilers not getting spoiled, people run out to see this thing and they want to see it as quickly as possible. FOMO, right? You see that here in the numbers, but listen, this is the 8th biggest debut ever, biggest R-rated rating ever, and you're looking at a film here in $438 million on the global debut. This thing is going to very likely hit $1 billion. I mean, we called that a long time ago. And here's why this film will do well over the next couple weeks. And we'll go under the hood and we'll look at the details of this film daily, worldwide. We'll look at the demos, all of that coming up in a second. But what you're going to see here is really nothing of significance coming in here for the next several weekends. The next big film, and it's not even nearly as big as Deadpool Wolverine, is Alien Romulus, and that's Disney, so they don't even care if it cannibalizes some of that. But next weekend's Trap, this film, huge success. Obviously, we're looking at the biggest R-rated debut ever, 5th biggest MCU debut of all time, and still has a little room here on Sunday. Assuming this goes bigger than what Disney estimated, there's a very good chance this thing goes above and gets to number 4, because number 4, I think, is 207. So we're in the ballpark of getting up to the 4th biggest debut. So this is a big win for Disney, who also has another milestone to celebrate with Inside Out 2. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's go to the Disney email and break down all of the details of this film, exactly what happened with it. Number 1 in all markets with $438.3 million globally. Again, that's 205 here in the States, 233.3 internationally. The Marvel franchise now has $30 billion. It's the highest grossing film franchise ever. All of the 34 titles in the MCU opening number 1. All of them, even the Marvels. Highest R-rated global opening of all time, surpassing Deadpool. Highest global opening weekend of 2024, and the biggest since Avatar Way of Water, 439 in like-for-like markets at current rate base exchange. Also, the highest Rotten Tomatoes verified moviegoer rating, 97% combined, with strong international social reactions, boding well for this, as we talked about when we kicked off the stream here this morning, the long ramp for this that should be able to play for a number of weeks going forward. The 34th straight MCU movie to debut number 1. This is the stateside stuff here, all the little bullet points here. We go to the highest R-rated movie opening of all time, surpassing Deadpool. Deadpool was 132.4. This is 205, so we blew that out of the water. We called this Deadpool on steroids, obviously, when you throw Wolverine, Hugh Jackman in this thing. Highest July opening weekend of all time, surpassing Lion King. Lion King was 191.8. This is bigger than a family film. Remember, kids went. We're going to see the demos in a minute, but I told you parents are going to take their kids. They had to. This number can't get this high without some kids getting in. There's no chance. Highest opening weekend of 2024 and highest since Spider-Man No Way Home at 260.1. 8th highest opening weekend all time, as I mentioned. 5th highest superhero opening weekend of all time, behind Endgame, No Way Home, Infinity War, and Avengers. If it gets a little higher, it can take out Avengers. I think we're less than 3 million from that. So that's doable, assuming these Sunday numbers pop a little bit bigger than what they estimated. One more time, those of you who never joined us here on Breaking Box Office, what you see is the studios, they always estimate Sunday and they give a number they think it's going to make. And with a film like this, I could see it going bigger, and that means we go higher and get to number 4. Could happen. Second highest opening weekend for the 3rd installment of all time, behind only Avengers Endgame. And let's continue and go to the international. Open number 1 in all markets. Opening weekend for Deadpool Wolverine, excluding China, 56% ahead of Deadpool, 52% ahead of Guardians 3, 50 bigger than Deadpool 2, 37% ahead of Joker, and 24% ahead of Thor Love and Thunder. Interesting. Remember, Thor Love and Thunder did pretty well. You know, that film, a lot of you hammer. I think it's fun. I mean, I like this film better, but I don't hate Thor Love and Thunder like a lot of you guys do. I understand the kids and the teddy bears and all. I get it, but it still didn't do that badly. I think it's ended up at was it 600 or 700 million worldwide? I mean, it could have done certainly a billion would have been a lot better off for Disney. They would much rather see that. That's where we start to see some signs of cracks in the MCU. But now we're back. The question is, what's going to happen going forward? Don't get me started on Robert Downey Jr. and Doom. I'm not doing it. I did a whole stream last night. Go watch it. I don't want to discuss it this morning. I'm just having a nice leisurely Sunday morning here before I head down to the beach. So just let me do that. Highest opening weekend ever for an R-rated release, surpassing Joker. Joker is 147, which is still, God, that's such a big number for Joker. And we've got Joker 2 incoming. That's going to be another film that will blow expectations away. We're going above that. We're going above 147. Could we get to 200 million on Joker 2? I don't think so, because in Joker's case, you're not going to bring the kids. Even if it's, cartoon violence, it's more realistic, right? I know it's CBM violence, but it's different. So I don't think you don't get the kids. So that's why that number will not be as big. Highest opening weekend since Avatar. We mentioned that. Let's go to roll down. I'm going to get to Inside Out 2 because it's another milestone here. But I'm going to get down to the demos and all the breakdown of what happened with this film. Domestic weekend 205, international 233, total 438.3. And then we go to, let's see if I can get the demos. Here we go. Male, 64%. Female, 36%. 13 to 17, 6%. So there are kids there. Now, it's not a big number, but it's still 6%. That's money. 18 to 24 was big, 31%. The young kids, the young adults went to see this. 25, 34, 29%, 35, 44, 20%, 45, 54, 10%, 55 plus, not very big at just 5%. So, yeah, there's the breakdown of that. Now, I'll take a couple comments in a minute. Let me do this, though. I'm going to go through everything, then we'll go back to comments. I want to go to Inside Out 2, which now is at $1.5 billion. Quickly on that, let's go and get it. Globally, after 7 weekends, Inside Out 2 has grossed $1.505.6 million or $1.505 billion. If you look at it at that, switch it to a billion versus million. Obviously, we're talking about the number one animated film all time still. This weekend saw Inside Out 2 pass Top Gun Maverick, okay? Now it's bigger than that film. Maverick was at 1496. It's now at 1505. The 12th biggest film of all time globally, still to open in Japan. Japan always gets everything last. They got Oppenheimer like a year after it opened. Now here it is. You guys, the brand new film that's been out for a year everywhere, but not here is now you get it Japan. Domestically, Inside Out 2 stands at the number one animated film all time domestically, number 14 industry film all time domestically. All these records continue, but $1.5 billion on Inside Out 2. I want to mention this. This is kind of important. Okay. So you're going to get a lot of people that are going to tell you that Twisters is killing it. And I'm not saying it's not doing well. Here's the problem with Twisters. Okay. First of all, it dropped 57% weekend 2. Which is expected because you lose those PLF premium large format screens. And that's the IMAX, the Dolby. Now, I'm going to tell you this, that Twisters was in Prime down the street at AMC Burbank. I don't know if it was in your Prime near you. Remember, we have more PLFs out here, particularly at AMC Burbank. We've got the 3 because it's the number one AMC in the entire country. So if you don't have as many PLFs, Twisters probably didn't have one. So it lost the majority of those, and it ended up going down 57%. And that points, I think, to a couple things. Yes, it does hurt losing the premium large format, but if audiences really loved this movie, it would be closer to minus 49, right? Not minus 57. This is not a great movie. Okay, we've talked about how Twisters is not. It's not as great as it could have been. It's not as fun as it could have been. There's way too much science jargon in this thing, too much weather and fronts and meteorology bullshit. Okay, but not just that. It's too long. There's a lot of mistakes with this film, okay? But the problem with this film, as we look at Twisters, is the fact that it's only made 11.1 million here overseas this weekend. 11.1. The total international is 66.3 after several weekends. It opened a little early overseas. So we're talking about a film that's really not flattening the universe. It's doing pretty well here. Obviously, we're over 100 and I believe 50 some million right now on that domestically. And the state and the overseas, when you add it all together, is 221.3 for the international and domestic global total. But again, this is not doing the numbers you want to see from an overseas standpoint. So that's important to note. Comments in a few minutes, but I'm going to get to all this. I just want to mention that because a lot of people they're not going to pass over that. Listen, they're going to just, gloss over and say, forget it. Here's the reality. Is that when you are looking at how we are going to analyze box office, you're never going to get someone who's going to spin shit here. I'm going to spin it into what the facts are. I'm not going to spin it into what you want me to say for an AMC stockholder. Never going to do that. It's never going to happen. Okay. What I'm telling you is my analysis of the numbers and being fair and objective, because we do not have an agenda here. We have an agenda to tell you the truth. And yes, evaluation, if I hammer a film, that's my truth. I have no agenda. I've never taken an agenda into a movie. I never have. I want to see these films succeed. I love going to a movie theater, but I'm never going to tell you that a film is doing better than it is or worse in that estimation, in that instance, if I don't believe that's the truth. You guys, I'm a truth seeker. I don't bullshit, okay? If I'm going to tell you something, I believe it. I think it's the reality of the situation. A lot of people don't operate like that. And certainly on YouTube. Hell no. They always are going to try to filter theirs through what the audience wants to hear. I don't care what the audience wants to hear. I'm going to tell you what the facts of the situation are. Despicable Me 4 is now at 677.7 worldwide. I don't think it gets to $1 billion, which is still not a fail for this film. You're just starting to see diminishing returns on this because ultimately people are like, we've done this. How many times have we seen Gru and Minions and the girls and now Mom and Baby? We've seen this so many times that eventually it's going to start to lose steam. And now we're at that point. That said, they're going to keep making them because, look, they have Minions, I believe, is it 3, right? They're making right now. When you make money, when you're banking cash, when you're making a profit, you're going to keep going. Okay, let's do the top 10, a couple comments, and we're going to roll out of here on this Sunday. We are excited for Deadpool Wolverine. I wanted to see that number closer to 220, but here's the good news. Because it didn't quite get to the high number that I expected it could get 220 plus, that means there's more money available from audiences who didn't run out to see it this weekend. That's the challenge. Can they get women to buy in on this film? Can they get people to watch it a second time like I have seen it twice? That's going to help push this thing up to $1 billion should it get there over the next several weekends. I really wanted to see this at 500 million this weekend. That said, we're at 438. No one's crying. Right? No, I'm not. Disney's not like, they're very happy with this. Top 10 box office. Deadpool Wolverine, number 1 with $205 million. The per location average is $48,000. Okay. Remember, whenever I talk about the location average, that tells you the true success of the film. When you're talking about a film that's at $48,700 per screen, you are talking about a runaway smash. I mean, a good number like Dune was in the 20,000s. So this doubled that up, right? Plus. So, a film that opens like okay at number 1 would maybe have like 10,000 per, 15. This is 48. Okay. Twisters down 57%, 155 on the domestic total for that, as it was 8,500 per screen this weekend. So there you go, right? So it's basically 1/6. So for every person that saw Deadpool Wolverine, 6 people saw Deadpool Wolverine, 1 saw Twisters, right? Is that correct? Is my math right? It's early Sunday, okay? I just crawled out of bed. Give me a break. Despicable Me 4 is number 3 with $290 million here stateside. Inside Out 2, $1.5 billion worldwide, $613 million here stateside. Longlegs down another 43% at $58.6 million. It's one of Neon's biggest movies ever. is Parasite. It might be getting close to Parasite's domestic. Give me 1 second. I didn't even bother doing that. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Parasite box office. Let's go to, yep, there it is. Okay, here, see, this is, you do it live. We do it live. This is now the biggest domestic film for Neon ever. This is new. I don't even have a graphic for that because I didn't expect it, because you can see right here, look, here is your Parasite domestic 53.3, call it 53.4. And then you're talking about Long Legs. Again, go back to the chart, and we're talking about Long Legs at 58.6. This is now Neon's biggest film stateside ever in the history of that studio. They're having a very good year, by the way. Let's continue along. They have Quiet Place day one is at 134 million here stateside, 250 globally. I believe it just passed that number here today. Bad Boys Ride or Die, 191 stateside at almost 400 million overseas. I think it's at 200 million by itself overseas. Total global on this is nearly 400 million. So yeah, Will Smith is thrilled because his career has been salvaged, at least for now. Fabulous Four, a film that, it's one of those old skewing films. It did terrible. It made $1 million or $967 per. Can someone give me what's the ratio of Deadpool and Wolverine to the Fabulous Four? Remember, 48,000 to basically 1,000. So 48 people saw, is that correct? For every one person that saw the Fabulous Four, 48 saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm surprised it's not even bigger than that. My math's probably off. Fly Me to the Moon is only at $571 per screen at this point, 19 million. That film was down 77%. Ugh. Wow. I don't hate that film. I enjoyed it. Okay. I saw a film last night that I'm going to talk about tonight on the big show that is called Dee Dee that I didn't love. Let me see if I can get a number on that. Give me 1 second. I don't think I have that yet. That comes in a little bit later with some of the smaller studios, but it's a small platform release, kind of like what A24 is doing with Sing Sing. And Sing Sing is just not doing numbers. It's only on 4 screens. I don't know what A24. I'm telling you guys, a couple comments, we're out of here. A24, sometimes I don't think they even have a clue what they're doing. They literally like, let's just put Sing Sing in 4 theaters for like 3 weekends. That was dumb. You do a 4 weekend, you do 4 theaters, you do 12, or you do 4, then you do 50, then you do 300, then you maybe go to 750. This is not a big film, Sing Sing. But right now, nobody's talking about the film because A24 botched something else. All A24 does is make mistakes now. That's all they do. Maxine's the number one mistake, letting Ty West make that movie. Shit, was it bad. 200,000 for Dee Dee. Okay, was that for how many locations? 4? It's not many. I know it's in Burbank, a few locations here. Movie's not great. I don't love it. Certainly is not a 95% Rotten Tomatoes movie, which is exactly what it is at. I'm going to talk about that tonight, though. I'll save that for now. Yes, exactly. Bleecker Street. Bleecker Street is like, literally, if you're going to go down, right, the ranking of where your film, what studio you're released with, Bleecker Street is virtually at the very bottom, along with Vertical. By the way, we love some Vertical films, Asphalt City, but the rest of them are like, what's Vertical? That's where, you're in trouble when you're down with Bleecker Street. You are not really rolling that well. And Emotion's ahead of me here. I didn't even see this in the comments. Yes, exactly. Long Legs now the number one overall domestic film for Neon, beating Parasite, which is crazy. And what a win again. Back to Deadpool Wolverine on the top. You're talking about a film that put up the largest R rating debut ever at 205 million, 8th biggest debut ever. So we're in a really great space. I think the problem comes here, as we finish up summer, we're at the point where things are going to start to drop because kids are going back to school. Movies are going to take a back seat. This was the last huge movie we're going to see for a while. This is the last big film until we get to Joker, essentially. Now, listen, Alien Romulus will do some numbers, I think, for sure. We know that. That's in August, coming up here, middle of the month. Trap will outperform. But when you look at Smile 2 is going to do really well for Paramount. But the next huge film is very likely the next big film that we're going to be discussing is Joker 2. And that doesn't come out until October. So now we have to have the marketplace supported by some films that come in and are not going to be this air sucking, I take all the oxygen out of the marketplace film like Deadpool Wolverine. We're going to be looking at films like Trap, Alien Romulus, and Smile 2, and whatever else comes in between. But just your expectations need to come down a little bit on that, next couple of weeks. Don't be expecting anything crazy. I don't know what Focus is doing with Dee Dee. We'll talk about it tonight. I just know that for me, it's not I would never, ever put that in a top films list. No way. It's manipulative. It's a film. When you sit through it, you feel the filmmaker. It's based on his life, I'm to assume. It's a very personal film, but it feels like I'm going to try to make you feel these things rather than have you feel them. I'm going to manipulate you to feel these things with mom, with granddad, with grandma. It's not a great film. I'm definitely not. And remember, we're in a world now where we have people that overpraise things all the time. So when I actually get to some of these things, I guess it won some things at Sundance. When I get to these films, my expectations are naturally going to be a little bit higher because I've been told it's the best film at Sundance. This is 100% Rotten Tomatoes, 95%. It's hilarious. And then you watch it and you're like, this isn't all these things. It's not a terrible film, but it's by no means one of the best films of the year. I could put 10 in front of it minimum. But remember, we live in the world where we're going to praise certain things. I'm not going to get into why. I'm just going to tell you know why. And I'm not playing that game and never will. It's never going to happen. I'm going to praise a movie from a white director the same way I'm going to praise a movie from an Asian director if it's good. It doesn't fucking matter. I'm not doing it this morning. I'm just doing box office. I'm just telling you, people that do that shit, you're broken. Your fucking head's broken. There's no other way to do it. If you're valuing somebody's work because they are African American or they are trans, whatever you want to marginalize group, you're broken. You're a broken person, and you are not. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to deal with virtue signaling people. I have no interest in them. I want to deal with people that deal with merit. And merit is how the world should work. The world runs on who's the best. You prove yourself. That's it. There's not any other debate. There's nothing. I don't even want to discuss anything else because I'm right. And I know I'm right. So there's no room to play here. But we don't do that. We have a lot of critics who are like, well, because it's directed by this person or this and that. No. We're not doing that. We're never doing it. A couple more comments and we're out of here. I have to do that every single stream because I never know who's going to be on the stream. And I have no problem doing that because Hollywood needs to hear that shit. I'm so tired of having to hear about box checking. Fuck nepotism too. I'm so tired of having to hear about the DEI push. Fuck that. No, we're never doing DEI. It's never happening. I mean, it's never fucking happening. We're going to hire the best person. I want to have everybody that's in the field, and then we're going to pick the best person. I'm not picking somebody based on the color of their skin. It's never fucking happening. It's so fucked. I can't. We'll do it tonight. Again, I can't do these things again. I'm just wanting to do box office. But you guys know I'm right. I'm 100% right. It's and these people. No, it's not a failure. Evil tuber. It's not a failure. And then we're going to get out of here. Twisters is not a failure, but it's not the runaway smash that I thought this film could be. But the reason, listen, when I watched Twisters, I said this. I said this is a shame because this could have been a really entertaining film, and it's not. It's missing things. It's missing. There's so many issues. Go back and watch my reaction stream. I don't want to go over it again, rehash the whole thing. I'm just going to tell you that when you watch Twisters, you go, okay, this is like the baseline version, slightly elevated baseline version of what I expected. That's not acceptable. What you have to do as a filmmaker, in a studio, in a director, and a writer, all of this stuff, when you are creating these things, you have to have the best version of the film. You cannot have a mediocre or mediocre plus version. We live now in a world in Hollywood where mediocre is okay. And remember, we have a lot of critics, quote unquote critics, in the space that think mediocre is great. King of the Planet of the Apes. Oh my God. Fall Guy. These movies are not great. But yet, if you listen to some of these critics, they're going to tell you these things are close to masterpieces. Well, that's the problem. Because when you start praising everything, then nothing is worthy of praise. You have to hold the praise from when it matters, and Twisters just did not deliver in the way that I expected it to. Not a terrible film, not a great film, but Overseas is telling the story of this thing. And wait, how can it? No, it's not. Well, no, listen. Okay, we're not doing this. It's not a failure. We didn't say that. It's not doing. Guys, one more time. Do I need to do this? I don't want to. I was just coming on here to do a quick stream. But if I have to point, can I point? Can you see with the number there? Can you see that number? 11.1. $11.1 million overseas this weekend. You got to understand that's not great, right? You got to get that. It's not hard. So remember, when we're talking about these things, I expect you to understand it without me having to, run through it like we're doing some remedial English. We are doing basic stuff here, and 11.1 million is not good. All right, we're back here tonight. We'll talk more about Deadpool Wolverine, certainly more about Doom and RDJ. Oh my God, what the hell? Go watch the stream if you want from last night. I was a lot of F-bombs. I apologize for the kids out there that watch with their families. Yeah, sure. Here's the reality. We're going to have to go after the MCU tonight for that decision again. And we'll talk Deadpool Wolverine. Why did it go as big as it did? Why did it maybe not go quite as big as I thought it could? Yes, I think that's fair too. All that tonight, Sunday Evening Spectacular, sometime probably more like 9 tonight. Get the updates on the YouTube page. You're watching on X. You'll see me when I pop up live later tonight from LA, MMT, the Sunday Evening Spectacular, upcoming tonight. See you then. Peace out.